Every morning, the alarm jolts us awake. We drag ourselves through the motions, work, eat, commute, only to collapse into sleep and start the cycle anew. Day in, day out, life can feel like an endless loop, with no real meaning or change. Amid this repetitive grind, a haunting question often surfaces. What's the point of it all? This existential doubt has puzzled humanity for centuries, but in the 20th century, French-Algerian philosopher Albert Camus gave it a striking new perspective. Through his philosophy of absurdism, Camus confronts the tension between our deep desire for meaning and the indifferent silence of the universe. What happens when life offers no clear answers? How do we reconcile the clash between hope and futility? In the pages ahead, prepare to embark on a journey through the shadows of despair and the flickers of rebellion. It's a philosophical and emotional exploration where the absurd is not an end, but a beginning, a call to confront life's paradoxes head-on. What lies beyond the question? The answer is as unsettling as it is liberating. The human need for meaning. Humans are inherently meaning-seeking creatures. From a very young age, children instinctively ask why as they try to make sense of the world around them. This quest for understanding is not merely intellectual curiosity. It reflects a deeper psychological and existential need to find purpose and coherence in life. Without meaning, experiences can feel random, confusing, or even terrifying. For much of human history, religion, tradition, and myth have been the primary frameworks through which people made sense of existence. These systems provided comprehensive narratives that explained the origins of life, the reasons for suffering, and what happens after death. They offered answers to fundamental questions. Why are we here? Why do bad things happen? What happens when we die? Through stories, rituals, and beliefs, individuals found a sense of order and connection to something greater than themselves. This certainty offered more than intellectual answers. It gave people hope and structure. Life's hardships were often understood as part of a divine plan or a necessary path toward growth and redemption. Suffering was imbued with meaning, and death was seen not as an end, but as a transition to another state of being. This framework helped people endure challenges and make sense of loss, grounding them in a larger cosmic story. In modern times, with the rise of secularism and scientific explanations, many of these traditional sources of meaning have been questioned or abandoned. Yet the human need for meaning remains as strong as ever. Understanding this fundamental drive is crucial for grasping how individuals and societies navigate the complexities of existence and why meaning continues to be a central concern across cultures and eras. The death of certainty. The advent of modern science profoundly altered humanity's understanding of its place in the cosmos. Darwin's theory of evolution, revealing life as the product of natural selection rather than divine design, challenged the long-held belief in a purposeful creation. Likewise, the Big Bang theory painted the universe not as a deliberate masterpiece, but as an immense, indifferent expanse, governed by impersonal physical laws. This scientific paradigm stripped away the comforting narratives that once imbued existence with cosmic meaning. No longer was suffering a trial ordained by higher powers or part of a grand moral plan. It became random, senseless, and indifferent. Death, once seen through spiritual or mythic lenses, emerged as the irreversible end, devoid of any promised afterlife or cosmic justice. The certainties that once anchored human life, the divine order, the eternal soul, and purposeful design, crumbled in the face of this new understanding. In the late 19th century, Friedrich Nietzsche famously declared that God is dead. Contrary to popular misconception, this pronouncement was not a cause for celebration, but a grave warning. It signaled the collapse of the metaphysical and moral foundation upon which Western society was built. With the death of God came the erosion of absolute values and meaning, leaving humanity adrift in a vast, directionless sea. This unmooring of society triggered a profound psychological and spiritual crisis. Without a transcendent anchor, individuals confronted an existential void. In this void, the human craving for meaning clashed violently with the indifferent silence of the universe. This tension gave rise to what would come to be known as the absurd. The painful recognition of the gulf between our desire for significance and the universe's cold indifference. The death of certainty was not merely an intellectual shift, but a deeply unsettling condition. It posed a stark question. How can we live meaningfully in a world that offers no inherent meaning at all? 3 responses to the absurd. Albert Camus identifies 3 primary ways humans respond to the absurd: the confrontation between our search for meaning and the indifferent silence of the universe. These responses reveal how we struggle to cope with the realization that life lacks inherent meaning. First, denial. The first response is denial, where people cling to illusions of higher meaning to avoid facing the absurd. This often takes the form of religion or rigid ideology. By believing in a divine plan, an afterlife, or an ultimate purpose, individuals pretend that their suffering and the randomness of existence are part of a larger, comprehensible design. Denial provides comfort, but also blinds us to the absurd's true nature, keeping us trapped in hope rather than honest confrontation. Second, nihilism. The second response is nihilism, a surrender to despair. Nihilists accept the absurd, but interpret it as a reason to believe that life is utterly meaningless and nothing matters. This can lead to apathy, hopelessness, and even self-destructive behaviors. Rather than finding freedom in the absence of meaning, nihilism paralyzes people with the void, causing them to withdraw from life. Third, escape. The third response is escape, where individuals distract themselves from the absurd through endless consumption, entertainment, and superficial pursuits. This includes binge-watching shows, social media addiction, the relentless hustle culture, or chasing status symbols. Instead of confronting the emptiness directly, people drown it in noise and activity. These distractions provide temporary relief, but ultimately avoid facing the deeper existential questions. In today's world, these responses manifest vividly. Many scroll endlessly through social media feeds, seeking validation or distraction from the silence within. Others throw themselves into the grind of work, believing that productivity or success will fill the void. Binge-watching entire seasons overnight or compulsively consuming entertainment acts as a modern opiate, numbing awareness of the absurd. Most people, often unknowingly, are running from the absurd, clinging to comforting beliefs, falling into despair, or escaping through distraction. Camus challenges us to recognize these responses and, instead, confront the absurd head-on. Only by facing the lack of inherent meaning can we begin to live authentically, embracing freedom without illusions. 4. Camus's radical idea. Embrace the absurd. Albert Camus rejects the traditional responses to life's meaninglessness, religion, nihilism, and despair, as inadequate. Instead, he presents a radically different approach. Embrace the absurd. The absurd arises from the clash between our deep human desire for clarity, purpose, and order, and the indifferent, chaotic universe that offers none. Camus insists this confrontation is unavoidable. The absurd is real, and we must face it head-on, rather than flee into comforting illusions or surrender to despair. To embrace the absurd means to accept the lack of ultimate meaning without pretending otherwise. Importantly, acceptance here is not the same as resignation or defeat. It is a clear-eyed recognition of reality that paradoxically opens the door to true freedom. Once we stop demanding the universe to provide us with a grand justification or purpose, we free ourselves from the burden of false hopes or nihilistic despair. This freedom allows us to live fully and authentically in the present, creating our own values and meaning through our choices and actions. Rather than seeking external validation, we learn to find joy and significance in life's immediate experiences, relationships, and projects. Camus illustrates this through the myth of Sisyphus, who, condemned to endlessly push a boulder uphill only for it to roll down again, finds meaning in the struggle itself. By embracing the absurd, we move from passivity to active engagement with life. Not because life has an inherent purpose, but because we give it one ourselves. This is Camus's call, to live without appeal, to defy meaninglessness by embracing life's uncertainty with courage and creativity. In doing so, we discover a profound freedom and a new way to truly live. 5. The myth of Sisyphus. Reimagined, the myth of Sisyphus is one of the most enduring tales of Greek mythology, telling the story of a king condemned by the gods to an eternal, pointless punishment. Sisyphus was sentenced to endlessly push a massive boulder up a steep hill, only for it to roll back down every time he neared the summit. This punishment, cruel and ceaseless, became a powerful symbol of futile labor, a task without end or reward, a punishment meant to break both body and spirit. Traditionally, the myth is interpreted as a tragic allegory of human existence. Sisyphus's eternal toil reflects the modern condition, a repetitive cycle of work, struggle, and setbacks that can seem utterly hopeless. Just as Sisyphus's efforts never lead to lasting success, human life is often portrayed as a series of meaningless routines, where hope is perpetually deferred and meaning remains elusive. For many, the myth captures the despair of trying to find purpose in an indifferent universe. However, the French philosopher Albert Camus famously reimagined the story in a radically different light. In his essay, The Myth of Sisyphus, Camus argues that despite the apparent futility, Sisyphus can, and must, be imagined as happy. The key lies in the power of acceptance. Rather than seeing himself as a victim of eternal punishment, Sisyphus embraces his fate and chooses to push the boulder willingly. This act of conscious acceptance transforms the nature of his labor. Camus's insight is profound. By acknowledging the absurdity of his condition without succumbing to despair, Sisyphus claims his freedom. The gods may have condemned him to a meaningless task, but they cannot punish someone who refuses to feel punished. In accepting his plight, Sisyphus subverts the gods' intent. His defiance is not in escaping the punishment, but in mastering his response to it. The very act of pushing the boulder, laden with the full awareness of its meaninglessness, becomes an act of rebellion and affirmation. The boulder itself becomes a powerful symbol for life, repetitive, unending, and often exhausting. Yet it is not inherently meaningless. Meaning arises from our relationship with our struggles and how we choose to confront them. Just as Sisyphus finds purpose in his acceptance, so too can we find meaning in the everyday tasks and challenges that shape our existence. In this reimagining, the myth ceases to be a story of despair and instead becomes a celebration of human resilience and freedom. The endless labor is not a sentence to be mourned, but a stage for exercising agency and finding joy in the present moment. Sisyphus's happiness lies not in the hope of a final victory, but in the embrace of the journey itself, a powerful reminder that meaning is not given to us, but made by us, even in the face of the absurd. Part 6. Living an absurdist life. Freedom without illusions. If life has no grand design, no ultimate purpose handed down from the heavens or etched into the fabric of the cosmos, then we find ourselves radically free. This freedom is not a burden, but a profound opportunity. Without a divine script, there are no preset boundaries on what truly matters to us. The absence of a predetermined meaning does not plunge us into despair. Instead, it invites us to become the authors of our own existence, crafting significance from the raw material of experience. In an absurdist life, meaning is not something to be discovered as if it were hidden beneath the surface of reality. It is created actively by how we choose to live, moment by moment. The freedom to create meaning means that joy, love, and beauty retain their full reality and weight, not because they are eternal or cosmic truths, but because they are deeply felt and intentionally embraced. These values become vibrant precisely because they are fragile and fleeting, not despite it. Living without illusions means accepting the limits of life's permanence. Our experiences, relationships, and achievements will not last forever. Yet this impermanence is what makes them precious, fueling a commitment to engage with life fully rather than retreat into detachment or apathy. Freedom here is not a call to nihilism or disengagement, but an invitation to passion, to live vividly and courageously, precisely because life is temporary and uncertain. Embracing absurd freedom means recognizing that the absence of external meaning does not diminish the significance we can create within our own lives. It means loving fiercely, creating beauty, seeking joy, and embracing suffering, all without illusions about lasting guarantees or cosmic validation. In this way, living an absurdist life is a radical act of freedom and affirmation, a celebration of life's fleeting gift, lived without illusions but with full presence and responsibility. Ultimately, the absurdist's freedom is the freedom to live authentically and courageously, not because life demands it, but because we choose it. In a world without eternal truths, this choice becomes the most profound meaning we can create. 7. Practical ways to live with the absurd. Living with the absurd means embracing the tension between our desire for meaning and the universe's silence. Here are 3 practical personal revolutions to navigate this paradox with courage and grace. First, stop waiting for meaning. Too often, we trap ourselves in waiting for life to reveal a grand purpose or guarantee success. But meaning isn't something handed to us on a silver platter. Instead, freedom lies in letting go of this expectation. Act boldly, even if the outcome is uncertain. When you catch yourself asking, "What if I fail?" remind yourself, life doesn't owe you safety or certainty. You don't need guarantees to start living fully. This shift frees you from paralysis, allowing you to engage with life as it unfolds, moment by moment. 2. Choose to create. In a world without inherent meaning, creation becomes a powerful rebellion. Make art, forge connections, share ideas, not because they will last forever, but because they bring beauty, joy, and vitality in the present. Creating is a declaration. I choose to give value, even if it's temporary. This personal revolution transforms creativity from a quest for immortality into a celebration of the now. Your acts of creation affirm life's worth, making each moment richer and more vibrant. 3. Love the struggle. Life's challenges, repetition, setbacks, uncertainty are inevitable. Rather than resisting or resenting them, embrace these struggles as the fabric of existence. Like Sisyphus, who pushes his boulder with a smile, learn to find meaning in the act itself, not the end result. Loving the struggle means accepting life's inherent difficulties and choosing to engage with them fully. This attitude turns suffering into strength and builds resilience, helping you thrive amid life's absurdity. Together, these revolutions invite you to live not despite the absurd, but with it, finding freedom, creativity, and joy precisely because life refuses easy answers. Why this matters now more than ever. In today's world, where distraction, fear, and uncertainty constantly bombard us, absurdism offers a rare and vital clarity. Unlike many philosophies or ideologies that promise easy answers or false hope, absurdism refuses to sugarcoat reality. It confronts the chaos head-on without illusions, and in doing so, it frees us from the exhausting quest to find inherent meaning in a universe that offers none. We live in an age saturated with noise, news cycles that fuel anxiety, endless digital distractions that numb our minds, and social pressures that push us toward superficial answers. Absurdism breaks this cycle by embracing the absurd nature of existence itself. It doesn't ask us to escape discomfort or despair through avoidance. Instead, it empowers us to face life's inherent meaninglessness with courage and creativity. Most importantly, absurdism frees us from the paralyzing need to find meaning, as if it were a hidden treasure waiting to be uncovered. Instead, it gives us the liberating permission to make meaning, to craft our own purpose, values, and joy on our own terms. In a fragmented, uncertain world, this freedom to create meaning isn't just relevant, it's essential. The cycle is familiar. Wake, work, sleep, and then repeat. On the surface, it can feel like a meaningless loop, a Sisyphean task without end or reward. Yet, what transforms this daily grind from futility into something profoundly meaningful is the choice we make each morning to rise again. Like Sisyphus, we may not be striving toward a grand, cosmic purpose handed to us. Instead, we find meaning in the very act of choosing to engage, to persevere, and to create significance within the silence of the universe. This choice is a source of power. It empowers us to reclaim our days, to infuse intention into routine, and to discover joy, not in external rewards, but in the resilience of spirit itself. Though the cosmos may offer no answers, no echo, we have a voice, loud and clear. We do not have to be silent in the face of meaninglessness. Instead, we can speak, act, and live deliberately. In embracing this truth, the monotony transforms. The wheel turns not in vain, but as a dance of conscious presence, a testament to the freedom and strength found in choosing to live fully, day after day.